Patience, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Peter. I can hear you.
There seems to be a bit of confusion with me because it said 7 o'clock in the WhatsApp, and but the time is the same, so it should be 6 o'clock. Or
Yeah, it should be 6 o'clock. You're actually right. My mistake.
yeah,
My mistake. Sorry about that.
okay.
Mokete,
I,
in
I
case
mean,
you're wondering, I invited some members from my home club in Frankfurt. So Peter is from Esprit de Corps Toastmasters in Frankfurt.
Wow, welcome, Peter. Welcome, Peter Smith. We're so excited to host you tonight. Thank you so much for inviting them. The more, the merrier.
yeah, I should warn you. I'm past my business career, so I'm just interested to watch the presentations and that sort of thing.
You are more than welcome. Thank you very much for being here.
Hey guys, hello. I'm interested to know whether we'll finish on time if we don't start on time.
I believe our
Yeah.
coach is actually in 2 minutes time, if I'm according to the working program.
Okay.
Yeah. We will finish on time.
And we will finish at 7 or whatever. It's 7 o'clock we scheduled to finish?
1935.
1935. Okay.
Correct. Mr. Zoom Master, you can prep to get us going.
Thank you, Mr. District Director. In the next moment or so, I'm going to show the tech briefing video, and then we'll hand over to our District Director, Mr. Andrew Tsuru. Just a moment for the tech briefing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Toastmasters International online event. Siyanamukela, Riyalamukela, Notangenedziwa, JS welcome. For the most pleasant experience of this event, please pay careful attention to the following online technical Zoom guidelines. If your device audio disconnects during the session, please click on Join Audio Settings found at the bottom left corner of your in-meeting controls panel. Then click on Join with Computer Audio or Call via Device Audio pop-up. It is a good visual meeting etiquette to always have your device muted if not invited to speak. To mute your device audio, click on the microphone shaped icon found at the bottom left corner of your screen in your in-meeting controls panel. If your microphone is muted, it should be marked unmute with a red stripe. To unmute your device audio, click on the same microphone shaped icon found at the bottom left corner of your screen in your in-meeting controls panel. When it is unmuted, your microphone should be marked mute. Please note, at this time we can hear everything you are saying. To start your device video, click on the video icon also found in your in-meeting controls panel. When your device video icon is marked stop, note that it is on and meeting participants may see you or the activities taking place from where you are joining this event. To stop your device video, click on the video icon also found in your in-meeting controls panel. Your device video icon should now be marked with start video, marked with a red stripe, meaning it is off. The chat box will remain open throughout the session. We encourage you to use it for messages related to this event or participants in this event. When doing so, please observe the Toastmasters International values, especially integrity and respect. If you experience any technical challenges, please reach out and send a direct message to our Zoom master of the session. Later in this session, you will be invited to join a breakout room for the main session. Please show us love and laughter by using any of the reaction emojis found in your device in-meeting controls panel. Sit back, relax, and learn. Ladies and gentlemen, let the edutainment begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bertus Teron, and there will actually be no breakout rooms as mistakenly mentioned in the video. I forgot to skip that. However, this is the point at which I'll probably stop saying anything. A very big welcome to this masterclass, Maximizing Your Potential, and I'm immediately going to hand you over to Toastmasters Southern Africa's District Director, Mr. Andrew Tsuru, who will take over from here in welcoming you and then handing on to the rest of the role players. Andrew Tsuru, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bertus, and good evening and good afternoon and good morning to everybody who is joining us this evening in the southern part of Africa, where we are here together gathered to maximize our potential in order to redefine leadership in our continent. It is critical that we sometimes come together and really attack or challenge the status quo, as well as, of course, change the status quo through our initiatives. And everything starts with a conversation, which is where Toastmasters comes in, where leaders are made to ensure that we start movements that help redefine leadership in our continent. When I took over this role in May, I think there was quite an uproar of excitement, but most importantly, a challenge to ensure that more young people come and step up to the plate and have a seat at the leadership table. And that is why we call it redefining leadership, because chances are more people are going to find themselves in this space. But it's important as well to recognize that those that are capable, those that have got the potential, those that have got the capacity, as I always say, my first time going down the rain into the space of leadership experiences, I recognize that there is more that we can do together than apart. And that is why having to be here today, it's a big reminder. As I prepare to ensure that you are in the safest hands, I want to share with you an experience that I had when I first reached a place called Cape Town in South Africa. For many of you, you may know it as the southern part of the world, or in terms of our continent. And it is a city covered in 2 oceans. A few years back, my first time getting there, the city was in a drought. The province, rather, was in a drought of water. Now, isn't it ironic to you that a province or a city covered in 2 oceans was experiencing a drought of water? I put it to you that our continent today is experiencing a similar drought. Not because we don't have water, just like in Cape Town, but the right quality of water people in the Western Cape or in the Cape Town needed was scarce and limited. Similarly, our continent is experiencing a similar drought, not because we don't have the people or the leaders, but the right quality of leaders that we need is limited and scarce. And so what then happens when we don't step up to the plate? Instead of raising our hands to serve and change the status quo, we raise our hands to criticize and point fingers. And this evening's masterclass is really focused on maximizing your potential in order for you to activate the movement of a change in the status quo, particularly as we work through this. This is an opportunity for our Toastmasters members to find themselves in a particular empowered space so that they can make the movement. And those that are experiencing Toastmasters for the first time, this is the place where leaders are made for the world that we want to live in. And like I said, I'm going to give you over to somebody who's going to take great care of you and definitely doing majestic work in her field of work. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to be introducing to you a talent, capacity, and capability and gender catalyst, a transformational advocate, a facilitation and program director who is adept in different areas, but most importantly has over 15 years talent acquisition, employer branding, transformation, and culture development experience spanning from various industries across locally and internationally. Head of Talent Acquisition and Strategic Transformation at Santam. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Thembi Manyike.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, for that introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished Toastmasters and friends of Toastmasters. A very warm welcome to our esteemed speakers, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, Mr. Begisi Sangomane, and Ms. Patience Chisangamaya. Welcome to the Masterclass under the theme, Maximize Your Potential. As it has been mentioned, my name is Thembi Manyike, and I will be your moderator this evening. I feel honored and humbled to be part of this masterclass session offered by this elite institution. The point of the masterclass is to actually give you, the guests, an opportunity to learn from the experts. As Andrew mentioned, it also allows you an opportunity to empower yourself and to build your leadership capability. And then for them, it's to share their knowledge on the topic under the theme. Now, we've already had some house rules that have been mentioned, but I'd just like to highlight a few more. Please, again, a reminder, can you keep your mic on mute? Let us respect each other. Let us respect our speakers and everybody else in the session. Should you want to pose a question, you can use the chat. And if the opportunity allows, our speakers will then respond at the end. You may also use the emojis. I know a lot of people are big now on emojis. This is what COVID has taught us in our virtual meetings. But please ensure that it does not distract the speakers or detract from the conversation that we are having. Then lastly, please enjoy the session. It is for you. Our theme, Maximize Your Potential, can be analyzed in many, many ways. However, this evening, the focus is on 3 particular areas: personal branding for success, optimizing your productivity, and showing up against all odds. Now that is a critical one. I can assure you that the next hour or so will be informative, inspiring, and captivating for all of us in this virtual session. Now, let me not take much of your time, and let me halt my words and start with the program. Our first speaker today, who ideally I should not be introducing because she is no stranger to this fraternity, and her topic is actually something that should be top of mind for everybody who takes themselves seriously and their journey in terms of their career trajectory, even as an entrepreneur. Patience Chisanga Maya is a corporate communications entrepreneur. She's a professional keynote speaker, public speaker, and personal branding and leadership expert trainer. Patience wears many, many hats, including that of a social good, political activist, and entrepreneur. And when wearing one of these hats, she teaches individuals and organizations how to speak, lead, and build brands. Very important again. She empowers people through easy-to-learn communication principles, strategies, and training sessions designed to equip individuals and organizations with skills that will accentuate their interpersonal skills, visibility, presentation, and relationship building tactics, helping them deliver speeches or communication actions so powerful that they change the lives and build as well as grow their brands through a narrative and storytelling. Some of her achievements, which some of you may know, as I said, she is part of this fraternity, is that Patience has been a semi-finalist at the South African Toastmasters International Speech Contest in 2022-2023. Patience became the first Zambian female, and me being a gender transformation catalyst, it holds a very special place in my heart. Becoming the first Zambian female living in Zambia to be awarded the Distinguished Toastmaster Award for Toastmasters International. And for those who are not familiar, the Distinguished Toastmaster Award represents the highest level of education achievement in Toastmasters International. So familiarize yourself with this terminology because you're going to be seeing a lot more of Patience. Patience was also the winner of the International Speech Contest Toastmasters International in Zambia chapter 2029 and 2022. Patience has served in various leadership positions under Toastmasters in District 74, including Vice President, Public Relations, Club President, and DD, which is Divisional Director. Being awarded the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program Award of Scholarship in 2025, the flagship program of Barack Obama's Young African Leadership Initiative that empowers young people through academic coursework, learning, training, and networking. Patience was part of that. And being appointed as a global shaper for World Economic Forum in Lusaka Hub in 2014, a global shaper, an initiative of the World Economic Forum, which is a network of hubs around the world developed and led by young people. She has also been awarded the Best Media Reporting Award through the Media Institute for Southern Africa. Well done, Patience, on all your achievements, and I'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you, Tembi, for that. That felt good. Thank you so much for that extensive introduction. Much obliged. It is my sincere honor and pleasure to be part of this evening's masterclass, focusing on personal branding, a topic that I do believe is very, very significant for anyone who wants to climb up that career ladder, or anyone who wants to build their business enterprise. And as you have heard, I fell in love with Toastmasters sometime in 2017, and I have never left this institution because it is one institution that has really helped me redefine my brand, grow in my professional journey, as well as build my emerging business. So let's get started with our session on personal branding. Allow me to share my screen. Let me just move it into presentation mode. Perfect. What is personal branding? A lot of people walk up to me and ask me, how can I improve my personal brand? I want to redefine my brand, or I want to define my brand. And most times people don't really understand what personal branding is. There are 3 quotations that resonate very well with me when it comes to explaining what personal branding is. The first quotation is that in a lot of ways, branding is simply telling a story. In a lot of ways, branding is simply telling a story. That's what it is. The second quotation is by Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon.com. And he says that branding is what people say about you when you are not in the room. As you are telling your story, the world around you is assimilating the story that you are telling. And that story will be told when you leave the room, when you are not around to tell it. The third and final quotation that I appreciate when it comes to really understanding personal branding is by William Arruda. William Arruda is a personal branding guru, and he says that personal branding is not about you. It's about putting your stamp on the value that you deliver to others. Now, in as much as personal branding is about you telling your story, at the end of the day, it falls back on the impact that you have on others, the relationships that you share with the world around you, and how people feel about you, how you make them feel. My personal definition is simply that personal branding is the intersection between how you see yourself versus how others see you. Now, we have defined what a personal brand is. Every single day, we are all telling our story. The activities we engage in, the people we interact with, the clothes that we wear, the car that we drive, everything fits into the story that you are telling. Now that we understand the meaning of personal branding, we have to answer the question, why? Why do I want to work on my personal brand? Or why do I want to work on my business brand? Is it to climb up that career ladder? Is it to promote my business, the product or the service that I offer? It's all up to you. And once you decide why you want to work on that brand, you can now choose what platforms will have impact in your quest to build that brand. So think about the question, what is the reason? Why am I going to work on my branding odyssey, be it personal, be it professional, be it for your startup? And once you understand that, you will now choose which platforms you can utilize for your success. The most important platform traditionally is the human connection that we have on a daily basis. Every interaction that you have with a human being is an opportunity for you to build your brand. The second platform is the digital world. And we can't run away from the fact that in this day and age, 75% of branding is done in the digital world. Emails, television, radio, newspapers, social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. those platforms have become the most powerful tool for you to build a brand. Today, more than 75% of human resource departments will have a look at what their current employees are doing online or what their potential employees are engaged in online. They Google our names. They look at our activity on LinkedIn.
Sorry, I didn't understand, but I found something related. Do you want to know, is it our names or our name?
Hey, Google, stop. Apologies about that. That's my Google Home. I mentioned Google and it had to respond. I have disconnected the Google Home. Apologies to our Zoom master, because I think that's one of the instructions that you gave us at the beginning of this class. However, we shall proceed. In short, we are being watched, and everything that we do feeds into our personal brand, fortunately or unfortunately. Let's get now into the elements of personal branding. And these elements can be utilized even for your startup or for your business. One of my favorite quotations is by Zig Ziglar. He says that we are all in the business of sales. Whether you don't want your life to be exposed, your personal life or your professional life, you are selling yourself. Whether you own a business or you don't own a business, but you work for an institution, you are selling your services to that particular institution. In short, we are all entrepreneurs. And the following elements really help us to go forward. The first element is authenticity. Now, with authenticity, what we're simply saying is that you are genuine, you are honest, you've got your values, you're transparent, you are reliable. Everything about you is true to the core. Authenticity is something that can't be taught, and it is something that you can't claim as an individual. You are either authentic or you are not. How do you build authenticity? It is through the second element, which is consistency. Consistency is king, so they say. This simply means that if you're going to brand yourself as an entrepreneur, you have to be consistent in the story that you're telling. You have to be constant in the story that you're telling. Consistency has to do with the timeliness, how often you talk about your business, when you talk about your business. Constancy is simply the element that focuses on you being unchanging. If today I'm selling myself as an entrepreneur who runs a beauty house or a salon, and then next week I sell myself as an entrepreneur who's working as a financial advisor, that distorts the story and it makes the concept of you being authentic to be affected. People will not believe you. People will not believe your story. Your story will be inconsistent. Now, I recall that last year, I did host a masterclass with Southern African Toastmasters, and one of the things we're discussing had to do with how often should I tell my story? How often should I be online? And I recall sharing with the participants that, look, it's not about you being online 24/7. It's not about you sharing your story day in, day out. It's just about you having a plan. It could be once in a week. It could be twice in a month. It's about you having a plan. Depending on your why, once you understand your why, you will figure out how often you will need to tell your story through your blogs, through your social media platforms, through the various events that you will attend and the engagements that you have with people around you. A slow drip is better than a big splash simply means just keep going. In this day and age, there's a fight for numbers online, but your focus should not be the numbers. Your focus should be your consistency. If you're going to be telling a story about your profession and you get 3 likes today, that shouldn't take you back. Just keep going. Sometimes you will get more numbers, sometimes you won't get the numbers that you're looking for, but you have to keep going because it is your consistency that feeds into your authenticity. The third element is expertise. The question I want to ask you today is, if you Googled your name, what results do you see? Imagine how many people have your name. You need to have a stamp. What is the one thing that sets you apart? If your name is Googled, if Andrew Suro is Googled and there's hundreds of Andrew Suros around the world, obviously we will pick out Andrew Suro because when you go and see the content that is available online about Andrew Suro, it is linked to Toastmasters International. And voila, you would have found your Andrew Suro. So what separates you from everyone else? You need to focus on that. What's your expertise? Is your expertise visible online? If you're running a business, the services and products that you offer, are they visible online? Your expertise simply gives you the authority to sell a product or a service. It gives you the authority to push for that promotion, to apply for different roles and positions within the organization. So do not be afraid to showcase your expertise because it's all part of you telling your story. And one thing I like to share with people that are interested in personal branding is that do not belittle your achievements. Many of us who are in Toastmasters achieve level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, we finish a path, and guess what? The world doesn't know. The world doesn't know that Mokete completed level 5 of visionary communication and that she's been equipped with over 50 skills that will enable her to carry the face of the institution that she works for. So do not belittle your achievements. It could be a certificate, it could be a diploma. Make sure the world knows. And I know many of us don't like blowing our own trumpets, but if you have to tell your story, you have to share some of those achievements because they do feed into your personal brand. You may have your PhD, you may have your doctorates. Tell your story and let that be visible. This feeds into how powerful your personal brand will be. And that is why you see that big corporate institutions will have testimonials from people that have used their product or people that have used their service. Those testimonials feed into the expertise of those corporate institutions. It makes them the authority. The final element is personal proof, social proof, association, and recognition. Personal proof is simply you working towards being an authority, being an expert in your field. Social proof is something that is achieved as a result of people identifying you as the go-to person. If a certain institution is looking for a human resource manager, someone should be able to mention your name in that room and say, that person works in human resource and they seem to be an expert in the field, so we should consider them. Association simply means who is in your network? Who are you talking to? Who do you spend your time with? And recognition simply talks about you sharing your story and getting recognized for it. Apply for those awards that you see being advertised, because they will feed into your story. Now, having shared those elements of personal branding, I would like to simply make a call to action to you with regards to you being deliberate about what you do in building your personal brand. 5 simple action steps. Work on your personal branding statement. What is your personal branding statement? How would you introduce yourself today if you walked into a room where people do not know you? What is the core of your work? What are you passionate about? Go out there and tell your story. The second thing is very simple. How many of you have a professional headshot? Most of us do, and thanks to Toastmasters, I learned the culture of having professional headshots. Get that professional headshot. It's a very simple thing, but trust me, it does feed into your personal brand, and the view that people will have of you will be elevated. Action step number 3, network and share. Tap from people that are working in your field, learn from them, emulate them. And action plan number 4, practice your writing skills. If you have to build your personal brand, you have to learn how to write. And action plan number 5, do not be afraid. Go out there and tell your story. Remember, if you don't tell your story, someone else will tell your story. The results may be positive or they may be negative. Tell your story so that people can have something to say about you when you are not in the room. Remember to always be of value to the next person, because your relationships, both professional and social, do matter in you telling that story. Tembi, Toastmasters, and guests, thank you so much, and I hope you did find this session useful. I will be available to answer any questions that may come as a result of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Patience, for that. And I really, really appreciate the words of wisdom that you've shared. I think people are not aware of the fact that wherever you go, when you apply for a job, the employer or the client or even the company that you've applied to, they actually do a social media check. So you need to Google yourself, as Patience said. What does Google say about you? Are you happy with what Google is representing about you? If not, then change the narrative. You're the only one who can do that. And remember, the internet never forgets. Please, please, please Google yourself, because that is the first step in terms of changing your personal brand and the narrative that is out there about you. I love the fact that, simply put, Mr. Bezos basically said that your personal brand is what is said about you, what people or companies or institutions say about you in your absence. So really, really make sure that your value proposition is solid, strong, and you are positioned well. Thank you again, Patience, for that. I thoroughly enjoyed that presentation, very, very practical and can be utilized anywhere. I'm thoroughly pleased to also introduce another well-known member of this institution. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome Bhekisisa Ngomane, who you all know, the author of Elite Productivity, How to Increase Your Productivity with Limited or Dwindling Resources. Bhekisisa works with teams and organizations to inspire increased productivity levels by helping them find clarity, aligning their strategies to their vision, and ensuring high-performing teams. Bhekisisa's training and keynotes focus on productivity. He has experience in various industries, namely aviation, education, and travel, but to name a few. Mr. Ngomane has various achievements in Toastmasters and has earned himself several accolades as a leader and team collaborator. His high energy and engaging presentations always leave people feeling inspired, thinking differently about collaboration, and wanting to do more about their areas of expertise. Some of Bhekisisa's areas of specialization are strategy, in terms of how to align your strategy to your vision, team alignment, how to advance your momentum by building collaborative teams, which is critical in this day and age, productivity, and how to increase productivity with limited resources. After doing some work with Accelerate and their operations team, the operations and production manager, Monde Monzingwa, said the following about Bhekisisa, and I quote, "I was impressed at how Bhekisisa took the time to understand the needs of our business. His keynote touched on key points that spoke to what we needed as an organization, and we have seen a noticeable change in our employees' attitude and have seen increased efficiency in how they do things," end quote. I have no doubt that the people on this line are also very eager to hear about your thoughts on optimizing productivity. Over to you, Bhekisisa.
Wow. Thank you, Thembi, for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to waste your time. I just want us to get into it right away. Who of you here feels overwhelmed, especially after the COVID pandemic? When we went back to work, it felt like we wanted to catch up on the 2 years that we left. If you feel like that, you feel like, it is just too much. And I feel overwhelmed, especially now towards the end of the year. If you feel like that, please say me on the chat. Just go on the chat and say me. I feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. I feel there. Someone said, there's 3. Ooh, I am already overwhelmed by the me's that I see on the chat. And exactly that is what's happening. You probably feel overwhelmed by your work. You probably feel overwhelmed by your business, your home obligations, your side hustles, your studies, and a combination of all of those or some of those. You see, in 2020, when we went on lockdown, it's February 2020, when we went on lockdown, I felt like, we've got a 10 days holiday. We're just going to relax and have some fun, then we'll go back to work. But when the lockdown was extended, I knew that the economy is about to change. Something is about to happen to the economy that's going to affect everybody. I started my research on productivity because I realized that people that are going to survive the next economy are people that are very productive. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're working for company ABC. Company ABC has got 30 employees in a certain department. Now, because of COVID-19 and the results of COVID-19, they probably have to get rid of 40% of their staff, which leaves the 60% that was there to still produce the same results with less resources, plus less team members, and they would still want the same results. And therefore, it calls for everyone to be an elite producer. Produce more than you used to. Push yourself to produce more at a personal level. Because if you don't, you might also lose your job, and then someone else might take your job. So I realized that people that are going to survive that side of the economy would have to be elite producers. I was doing my own research about productivity for my own selfish reasons because I wanted to survive that economy. It wasn't until my mom was sick and she went to hospital for about 2 weeks, very sick with COVID. She was over 63 and she's also a health worker. She's also got sugar diabetes. And you remember what they said. They said, if you are over 63, you've got underlying diseases and you catch COVID, chances of you coming back are very slim. At that time, it was a difficult 2 weeks of my life, praying, meditating, trying to keep my sisters strong and my brothers strong. Eventually, when my mother got back from it, by the grace of God, she got healed. The first thing she asked me when she walked into the door was, Bheki, when are you writing your book? Because she knew that I had always wanted to write the book. At that time, I was researching on productivity and I said, let me write a book on elite productivity. But when I was writing this book, I didn't write it just all by myself. I did my own research, but what I also did was gather a couple of people that I recognize as elite producers to say, can I interview you? Can I have a chat with you to find out how are you doing what you are doing? I mean, you are in business, you've got a job, you've got a side hustle, you are a family person, either a mother or a father, and you still get things done. How are you doing it? Who would love to hear what these people told me? By show of hands, just there, I see all the hands are coming up. By show of hands, I see all the knees are still coming up. Yes. So one of the things that I noticed when I was talking to these people was they had certain habits that they live by. Some of these habits were very common amongst the rest. Some of them were a bit different, but there are certain habits in what they did. Now, I outlined in my book, I outlined 6 common habits of elite producers. Now, I must tell you, these are not the only elite productivity habits, but these are the 6 common ones. I'm going to outline them for you quickly. One of them is they are obsessed about starting strong. They are obsessed about starting anything strong. Being it starting a week, being it starting a day, starting a year, starting a project, or starting their day. They just want to make sure they start strong. It's just like in the Olympics, when you've got a relay, they always want their fastest runners in the beginning or at the end. And those are some of that's one of the things that they do. So elite producers, instead of starting a week on a Sunday by binge drinking or having a party, then when they go home, they are worried about Monday. They use their Sundays to plan the week. What is on the table for me on the week? What are the 5 most important projects I need to get to so that I can finish the week strong? What do I need to, what is in my get done list for this week, so that by the end of the week, I know I've been productive. So they use their Sundays to plan their week, to make sure that they start strong. And notice I didn't say start right, I said start strong, because a lot of us will want to, if we want to start right, you are going to be paralyzed by over-analysis. You're going to get what we call paralysis by over-analysis, because you'll be analyzing and not start. But they want to start strong, at least plan something. One of the things that they've got a morning routine. What do you do in the morning when you wake up? Now, if you go on Google or if you go on a YouTube, I'm sure you'll find a lot of morning routines to make sure that you start the day strong. Know what you are after in the day. What is the outcome I'm after during the day? Then you're not a wandering generality. You know exactly what you want to achieve. There's a saying that says you can never, you don't need to recover from a great start. So make sure that every day, every project, every month, you start strong. Number 2, they follow through on their commitments. Now, let me talk about commitments. When they say they commit to something, they ensure that it happens. When they commit to something, they do it. I think Patience touched on this as well. She said you need to be reliable, because that talks to your personal brand. They are reliable, and that's why elite producers, they take very little commitments, because they know that they have to protect their time, they have to protect their energy, and therefore they need to, whatever commitment they make, they need to produce in that commitment, or they need to make sure that something comes up with that commitment. They just don't say promise and never deliver. Most of them are under promises, over delivers. I actually had a challenge. How I found this out was there was a time when I felt needed. If, I used to be called for help on this. I'd be called to come and speak here. I'd be called to help on this. And I would always say, yes, yes, yes. It feels good because you feel needed. You feel like, nothing ever happens without me. And then you always avail yourself to help people. And eventually I found myself overwhelmed. I found myself that I couldn't deliver on some of the promises I made. Until I spoke to some of the leaders and say, look, this is not me. I've got so much on my plate and I feel overwhelmed. And someone made me realize that I've got a disease called the yes syndrome. And a lot of people suffer from that disease called the yes syndrome, where you say yes to everything, even if it doesn't talk to what you want, what you are after, or that big goal that you are after. So let me give you just a framework of what projects to say yes to. You say yes to the projects that align with the project that you are doing. If it's something that is outside of that, reconsider. And if you need to say no, it's okay to say no. Right? So that will be the second. That will be the second thing that elite producers have. 3, they constantly seek feedback and evaluate their performance all the time. A great man once said, feedback is a breakfast, lunch, and dinner for champions. Feedback is very crucial because sometimes you just work, and you wait for that appraisal in October, November, or December. And when your boss gives you appraisal, you're like, no, but this is not how I performed. But it's because you were not maybe taking care or watching or taking feedback regularly so that you see where you are, where you're going, or if you're achieving the results that you are after. How I learned this lesson was I had a mentor who would each and every project, he would sit me down and say, fine, let's go through the feedback. What did we do? Let's go through let's evaluate our project. What did we do well today? Or what did we do well in this project? And we'll go through those things, what we did well. We did well on this, we did well on this, we did well on that. The second question to ask ourselves would be, what is it that we could have done better? So whether the project was great or was a flop, we always ask these questions because no matter how great you think the project is, you can always take it a notch higher. You can always improve it. So the second thing we'd ask ourselves is, what could we have done better? And that way we even find creative ways to do other things. We even find better ways of achieving something. And that's how we improve on things. That would be number 2. Number 3, we challenge ourselves to say, all right, is there anything we can challenge ourselves on that we've been doing all this time and we can do differently? And that way we also find other ways of doing similar things. And that's how we get we improve from project to project. And I took that and applied it to my life as well, where every day I take stock. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? Can I challenge myself to go a notch higher? Number 4, they are very careful on how to use their language. They don't try and they don't hope, because hope is not a strategy. A lot of people, when I talk to people and I listen to their language and I hear them say, I hope this is what this will bring, I know that they don't have a strategy, and that's why they say they hope. So the recommendation there is, when you hear yourself saying you hope these are the results you're going to get, you must know that you don't have a strategy. You might have to sit down, come up with a plan, come up with a strategy, so that you know these are the outcomes I'm after, and these are the outcomes I will get if I follow this strategy. Because hope is not a strategy. And elite producers don't try. They either do it or they don't do it. Like I said, when I said they follow through with their commitments, they either commit to it or they don't do it at all. And when they don't do it, they tell you, unfortunately, I don't have the capacity to do it. Now, another one, they are obsessed about finishing strong. As much as they're obsessed about starting right, they're obsessed about finishing strong. I think this is very fitting that we talk about it now, because we're coming towards the end of the year. And a lot of people are already thinking, how am I starting next year before even finishing this year? You want to make sure that you finish this year strong so that you can start next year right. Because if you don't finish right, you are not going to start right. The best way is finish strong, and then it gives you momentum. It gives you the desire to start the next project or the next year or the next week. So you make sure that you finish strong, finish the week strong, finish the month strong, finish the year strong. Anything that you start, you finish strong. And the last one, they are consistent. They said they do something, they follow through, and they are consistent in everything that they do. Let me go through those habits again. Number one, they are obsessed about starting strong. Two, they follow through on all their commitments, constantly seek feedback and evaluate their performance. Number four, they are very careful on how they use their language. They obsessed about finishing strong, and they are consistent in everything they do. Now, I put it to you that if you just take these habits, I'm sure, and I'm definitely sure that your productivity levels will go higher. There's a whole lot more you can engage in your productivity, but start off with the right habits. Start off with these, and then you will become an elite producer. Madam Edison.
Thank you so much for that, Begisisa. You are so right. The Black Swan event called COVID brought with it a lot of fatigue. I mean, there were so many complexities around work-life blend. Many people were dealing with a lot at the time. A lot of organizations had to bring to pass strategies that they had planned for 5 years' time and had to deliver in 3 to 9 months. Yes, today they are still reviewing whether the operating model was efficient enough to support what was needed at the time, and was it really, really effective. I think now, thank you to you, I understand why we now have the 5 a.m. club. It is really about starting strong, right? And making sure that you start the day on a high and be able to fit. I mean, right now, a lot of people keep saying that, you know, you don't have enough hours in the day, but this is why you then have the 5 FM club. It's about productivity. It's about efficiency. And you are right again, Begisisa. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. And like Matthew said, it is okay to say no. And colleagues, no is a full sentence. It requires no explanation. And then ultimately, patience and Begisisa have been driving the word consistency, consistency, consistency. If you fail to be consistent, you will break yourself and you will break your reputation and your brand. Now, distinguished Toastmasters, Didi, and honorable guests, we are fortunate to have in our presence one of my favorite leading women in Africa. In many ways, primarily academia, but also in fashion. I mean, Prof has one of the best sneaker collection ever, but we're not about that today. Prof Mamokgethi Phakeng began her term of office as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town. For those who are at or have been at the University of Cape Town, raise your hand. Welcome our Vice Chancellor. She started her term on the 1st of July 2018. Prof holds a PhD in mathematics education from the University of Witwatersrand and is one of leading scholars in mathematics educational globally. She has over 80 research papers and 5 edited volumes published. She has been invited to deliver over 60 keynote plenary talks at international conferences. I do recall a few weeks ago, she was also in Rwanda. And as a visiting professor in universities around the world, Prof is also popularly known and has won numerous awards from her research and community work, which if you follow her on Twitter, you will see very, very involved in the community and giving back, especially in the community in which she comes from, including the Order of the Baobab, which is a silver, that was convened by the President of South Africa in April 2016. In August 2014, the CEO magazine named her as the most influential woman academics in Africa. And I think she still is. And in 2020, she was included in Forbes' inaugural list of the 50 most powerful women in Africa. In September 2022, she was awarded the inaugural Africa Education Medal, awarded by T4 Education to an outstanding individual who has demonstrated impact, leadership, and advocacy in the field of education. She has 2 honorary doctorates, an honorary doctorate in science conferred on her in July 2019 by the University of Bristol in recognition of her leadership role in mathematics education in South Africa, and an honorary doctorate in education conferred on her by the University of Ottawa on the 7th of June this year for inspiring leadership and passionate public advocacy for mathematics education that has had a catalytic effect in South Africa. Prof is a fellow of the World Academy of Sciences and the African Academy of Sciences. She is a philanthropist who in 2004 founded the Adopt a Learner Foundation, and since 2018 donates 20% of her personal monthly salary to a scholarship fund to support financially needy postgraduate women students at the UCT. Prof, it is an honor to have you in our midst, and we appreciate your time and dedication to the betterment of society, young people, and women. And it is also encouraging to see you role model exactly what your talk is about. And I believe through what we have already learned a lot from you, we are about to truly be stimulated. Colleagues, may I allow Prof. Mamokgethi Phakeng to talk to us about showing up against all odds. Prof, over to you.
Thank you very much, Thembi. Bazalwane, thank you. Thembi, thank you. That's a generous introduction. Really appreciate it. Bazalwane, comrades, fighters, ladies and gentlemen, members of the LGBTIQA+ community, friends at Vescopis Hospital, haters, members of the opposition, and Onondaba, bonke. Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really delighted to spend this little time, despite how tired I am, because I just landed from Miami just a day ago. As you have heard, I'm Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town, and I love students. I love all kinds of students. I love students who like me and those who don't. I like students who might like me in future and those who might not like me in future. If truth be told, whilst I'm Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town, I love students and young people in general because they are not only our future, but they are our now. The exuberance, as much as it's scary for many others, is what we need sometimes in this world. While I love students, I cannot always tell them the truth about real life in the world of work because I often feel that they are not really ready to hear the real truth about the brutality of the world. Sometimes I feel like they don't want to know. They just think life is going to be good, especially when they're at university, especially when they're doing well at university, especially when they're an activist, because they fight for things and they think it's going to be okay. We can spend our money the way we want. We can say whatever we want. We can do things whichever way we want. And things are going to be okay. I don't think so. So tonight, I want to talk about the one thing I wish I could tell each and every university student before they graduate. Here it is. How can you ensure that you remain employable, even in the midst of many other people who have the same qualifications and skills that you have? That's the one thing I wish I could have 30 minutes with each student at university, any university, and tell them this. How can I make sure that I remain an employee of choice in this competitive world we live in? So I want you to work with me through this talk. Let me start by asking you to think a little bit in the future. All of you in the audience, pretend that it's next Monday and you are walking into your workplace, and all of a sudden you realize that your company or your organization is going through a few changes. Maybe they are not such good changes. Maybe your company is going through some reorganization. Maybe they need to cut costs after COVID-19, or maybe they even need to lay off staff. Maybe it's good changes. Maybe your company is making decisions about who to promote, who to give increases to, who to give bonuses to. That would be a good Monday morning, wouldn't it? Whatever the changes, whether it is good or bad changes or new opportunities, the senior management of your company is sitting in a room and they have lots of personnel files in front of them, and they are making some decisions. They are making decisions about who to do things to, who to promote, who to retrench, who to give bonuses to, and your name comes up. Boom, all of a sudden, your file is right in front of the CEO, and your name is the one being discussed in the room. Let me ask you one question. So what are they saying? How many people in this room would fight for you at this moment? How many people in your senior management team would fight to keep you on their team, fight to give you a raise, fight to give you some opportunities for promotion, fight to give you a bonus? How many? Just think a little bit about that. And why would they do it? I'm sure many of us would like to stay employed if you are employed. Of course, many university students think that they do not have to care about being employed because they are going to be the employer. I used to think that way. It's not a bad idea. However, we all know that not all of us become employers. A large majority of people end up being employees, and those who are employed, who are not employed, are looking for employment. And of course, many of us do not just want to stay employed, but we also want to move ahead and get better opportunities. The bottom line is that we all need the money we get from our employment. So it is important that we learn what employers, managers, business owners, and CEOs want in an employee. What is it about an employee that will make any manager fight to keep them on their staff or on their team? Is it your qualifications? Is it your experience or technical skills? Here's the thing. Qualifications, experience, and technical skills are hugely important, but they are not a sufficient guarantee that anyone will fight to keep you on their team. Let's think about this a little differently. If you were a CEO or a business owner, and you have in front of you two employees, both of them technically competent, which one would you fight to keep? How do you make that choice? All companies have in mind what they want from an employee. And most of the things they want are not just about qualifications and experience and technical skills, but they are about values and attitude. Of course, as an employee, there are also things that you want from your employer. And for many of us, a good salary is not all that we want from an employer. And I hope you get to a stage where, in fact, a good salary is not all that you want from an employer. That is why sometimes some of us turn down job offers with higher salaries, perhaps because the values of the company do not resonate with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in an unbelievably competitive world right now. There are many unemployed graduates out there. The situation is so serious that we even have an organization for unemployed graduates here in South Africa. Many companies are struggling to survive, and at the same time, employees are demanding more pay. There are more strikes now for higher wages than we have seen in the last 25 years of our democracy. For you and I to be able to go to work and do the jobs that we must do in order to stay employable and be successful, we have to be able to walk into work feeling good about ourselves. So the first criteria on being an employee of choice and being successful has nothing to do with the degree or diploma that you have or you're studying towards. It also has got nothing to do with your technical skills. It is more about your values and attitude. Here's the thing, we can train you for technical skills, but we can't do anything else with values and attitude. So the moment you walk into your workplace, your company has a right to expect and demand that you give them 100% of your energy. This does not mean the only life you have is the life at work. However, we cannot use things that happen in our personal lives as an excuse for not delivering on excellent work. And when we are held accountable, complain that we are being bullied, we are not being supported, or this or that. I made a decision a long time ago to be happy at work and about my work, irrespective of what happens around me. I start work every day at 5 a.m. latest, simply because I love what I do and I look forward to doing it. The day I stop loving what I do, I will resign. Note, I will not resign simply because some people are making noise. I will resign the day I stop loving what I do. That's my decision. What I'm trying to say to you is that it is your responsibility to make your job enjoyable. You see, when you and I walk out of our houses every morning, we have two choices. We can walk out of our houses, go to work, and decide that day to be a friendly, happy, productive, cooperative, helpful, caring, resilient human being. There is one choice. Or we can leave our houses to go to work and decide to be a negative, complaining, angry, jealous, victim, defensive, uncooperative, unproductive, unhappy, bitter, hostile person. My advice to you this evening is that if you want to figure out how to be a successful person at work, here it is. Figure out how to come to work and be a happy, positive person. If you cannot be a happy, positive person, then hey, act like a happy, positive person. I promise you, many people do not care which one it is anymore. All they want is a happy, positive person to work with. Your company has a right to expect and demand that from the moment you walk into your work, you are productive, you are a productive, fairly positive, good, hardworking person who likes to share information, work as a team, and strives to do the very best they can for the company or institution that you work for. How we portray ourselves is important. Our values and attitude. How we come across is very important. If we stay grumpy, lazy, uncooperative, and mean, then the chances of having someone fight to keep us or fight to give us opportunities are reduced considerably. You need to understand that your sole reason for being in a job is to help deliver the best possible service so that your company and your institution can stay financially sound. All the companies in the world have the same goal, which is to make a profit. And there's nothing wrong with making a profit. If you work for an education institution, the goal of making a profit may not be explicitly evident to everyone, but it is there. Whoever is the accounting officer has to make sure that the institution remains financially viable. If your school or institution is not doing well academically, then there are possibilities that you will not get students, or perhaps you will not get the quality of students you want, which may have a negative impact on your income and thus threaten your existence. You know, making a profit has got such a bad image. I have heard people say to me, but Kheti, I cannot believe that all what my company is worried about is making money or saving money. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get real here. If they stop making money, we will all lose our jobs. I do not understand why making a profit has such a negative image. I mean, all of us are working to make more money. And that's profit. You want more money. You want profit. We are doing the same thing as our companies or institutions are doing. We are all working, hoping that we will make an extra money. We are also working, hoping that the profits will increase each year. That's why we want a salary increment each year. None of us just wants to break even. We all want to be able to save something and put it back into the hole. There is nothing wrong with a company that needs to make a profit. So think about this. If the CEO of your company called you in and said to you, please explain to me how your job and your contribution to this company is a direct link to our clients and allows us to stay stable and increase our financial growth, what would you say? The truth is that many people do not know how to answer this question. In my view, there are only two ways that you can help your company reach their goals, and your job or contribution should be linked to one or both of these. You must be able to prove that your job or your contribution helps your company either save money or make money. If you're in an education institution, you should be able to prove how your contribution helps your institution either remain financially sustainable or deliver on what is expected from the institution. If you cannot do one of these things in your job, then I can tell you now that your job is in serious jeopardy. The fact that you have a qualification or degree is not a good enough reason why anyone should keep you on their staff. You see, the problem is that we can train for skill, but we cannot train for attitude. If you don't have skills, we can mentor you, train you, coach you, and so on, but there is no cure for bad attitude. So while you get your degree, while you study further and get experience, please know that while that qualification may open doors for you, it is not the answer to everything. Its worth will also come from how you use it, which means how you behave. And that is your choice. That is what you do every day. Your attitude. I thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. Prof, thank you so much. A very simple message that your qualification, like you said, will open doors for you, but simply, when you show up to your employer, be humble, be open to learning. Soft skills are critical. Prof, it is shocking how often we find out that certain institutions do not offer work readiness programs or employability seminars. And those are critical to allow our young people to be able to show up. People always comment about students or graduates holding billboards, or sorry, not billboards, but boards at the robots saying that I've got this and this and this and this qualification. However, sometimes when you do bring them in, and I'm speaking from an HR perspective, sometimes they are not interviewable, because they have not been able to go through a work readiness program. So when people start saying, we've got so many unemployed graduates, fair enough. Let's start the conversation about how do we make them employable then, right? Because they've completed the qualification. Make yourself the obvious choice. I mean,
Yes.
Patience earlier mentioned the fact that your brand needs to talk for you. And Prof just reiterated it. She hyperlinked on that by saying that when a file sits in front of an executive or an employer, what does it say about you? Does it represent you well? Does it make you the obvious choice? Does it put you in the shoes of being a leader even before you actually show up for the interview? So in terms of what she was saying is around the fact that if your profile does not talk for you, nothing else will. Remember, your CV shows up way before you show up in front of people. What does it say about you? The soft skills training will amplify you so that by the time you show up, the conversation flows. What you are wearing is also important. I always say this, especially to the youth, that don't overstretch your bank account when you're going for an interview. For those of you who are still in university, if you're part of the SRC and they wear a blazer, wear it to the interview. There's nothing wrong with it. For those who are still students and have a school uniform, wear it. It is something that represents you well, that makes you comfortable. There's nothing worse than coming into an interview and already you're uncomfortable because of your outfit. How are you now going to show up a bit better? And Prof, the haters will hate. Even if you're not wearing the shoe that they like, even if you're not doing the same hairstyle that they like, they will always hate. You have our undivided support. You are amazing. You are an inspiration. We will follow, and we are praying for you in terms of whatever you are going through. So thank you so much for this simple yet amazing, amazing conversation and topic. Now, I'd like to ask Patience if you could also put on your camera while we still have time. I want to ask the colleagues on the line, if you've got any questions, please load them on the chat. But very quickly, I wanted to ask Patience and the Prof. What are your thoughts around how women are positioned lately? I mean, there's always an issue about opportunities for women. There's always an issue about how women are showing up and not being given the opportunities. And when they are given opportunities, they are constantly challenged. You have to deal with the issue around the fact that you are in a male-dominated environment, and then you have to show up differently. You always have to, You always have to show up a bit better than your male counterparts. How are you guys dealing with that? And what advice can you give to the young women of Africa? Patience, we can start with you, please.
Thembi, what I would say is that I do not use the excuse of being a woman as an advantage for me to get opportunities. Basically, I do not want to walk into a room and someone should use the excuse of saying, because we need balance, so we need a female voice. I have had the opportunity to facilitate events in the past, and there's this issue of the organizers of an event saying, no, we need to have a woman so that we have a balance. And you see that even being reflected in the way the event is being managed, where the man is sort of having the upper hand. I refuse to do that. And when I'm hosting an event, I don't want to be co-host. I don't want to be the assistant host. I am the host and he is the host. We are bringing 100% to the table because we are both capable of performing our duties. So the number one thing that I have done is to run away from the umbrella of being female, but bringing the best to the table. I do have the qualifications. I can perform the job the same way a man would perform that job, and my sex should not be used as a way of qualifying me or as a way of us having that balance. So basically that has helped me to step into a room and brand myself in a different way as someone who is capable, as someone who is passionate about the job, and not focusing on getting that role because I should be advantaged because I am a woman. I should get that role because I am qualified and I'm a human being and I'm capable of actually performing my duties. Unfortunately, we are still having battles in the boardroom. Whenever a woman speaks, there's still a certain old tradition of a woman being overlooked, but a lot of women are making a lot of moves and we are changing the narrative. Slowly, we are getting there, and slowly women are getting the respect that they deserve at the table. The women that have their seat at the table do qualify to be on that seat, and it's not by chance. It's not because of the issue of gender equality, but because they can actually perform and deliver excellence. I think for me, that is what has helped me even when I'm applying for that job, when I'm pitching for business. I am not using my feminism as a tool to get what I want to get, but basically focusing on the positives, focusing on my qualifications and my ability to deliver.
Thank you, Patience. Prof, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Patience, for your thoughts. Here's the thing. We are in the first line of women who are occupying the highest positions on this continent. We are breaking ground. And we should not lie to ourselves. We are breaking ground. And because we are breaking ground, the scrutiny on us is way bigger because patriarchy stands together. And so I am not surprised at the scrutiny on me, on what I wear, on my hair. It's been excruciating. I'm not surprised. I'm also not fazed when I get invited. I studied mathematics. So all my life, actually, I've been a minority. I've been either an unwanted presence or a disruptive presence, simply because I'm there. I'm disruptive even now, even if I don't do anything. Because many vice chancellors, even when they are women, they toe the line, don't wear bright colors, they don't wear lipstick because you must blend, you know. So for me, when I get invited or whatever, and sometimes I ask, tell me, are you inviting me because you need a Black woman, a woman? I'm quite happy to come. I don't have a problem because I'm very secure in my achievements and my qualifications. The whole world knows. And of course, I had been younger before. And when I was younger, my attitude was, I don't care. Invite me because I'm a woman. Introduce me as a woman to balance whatever. I don't care. I'm gonna so kill this task. That's the point. Because here's the thing. Qualifications are important, but they are not sufficient. Anyone can get them. It is the task that matters. So I don't mind. I don't mind. Put me in the committee because you want gender diversity. I will come. What is key is what I do when I'm there. You see, even when I'm the only Black person, I don't mind. There are international boards where I'm on, and I'm the only Black woman, and I'm the only African. The whole global South actually rests on my shoulders, right? I don't mind. And I look and I see these men, right? These powerful men and whatever, CEOs, former presidents and whatever, not of Africa, of Europe, right? And I realize, of course, they wanted an African face. This is clear. Because when there's a media briefing, it's me, whatever, I don't mind. The important thing is what I do once I get into that boardroom. For me, that's key. It's the values and attitudes. It's the contribution I make, because I know that I'm carrying with me the entire African continent and the diaspora. If I just if I go in and just blend and assimilate, look, smell, think, and eat like them, there's no value in me. And so I go in there unapologetically me. First of all, I insist on using my African name. I have a slave name too. I don't use it. And if they use it, I pause them. I say, yes, that's my name, but it's a slave name. So I don't like using it because it reminds me of where my people have been. So please use my African name. This name has got a meaning. It's got a whole entire place poem with it. When you call it, it reminds me of who I am. And so my European colleagues know that. I don't say it rudely, I say it nicely, and then they know I don't care that they can't pronounce it. I tell them, you try, as long as you don't call me Leti or Getty, okay? Just try. Why should I pronounce Anastasia? They can try Getty as well, okay? So, but that's just being unapologetic, and they all know Getty. And they all know that if I come to the party, I will make them think, I will stretch the boundaries, but I will make them look good as a group, okay? And it doesn't matter. But what I want is that when we are done, as the women who are put there, whether for equity or for diversity, is when we are done. My view is that the people must say, yeah, hey, we need Black women. These Black women are strong, man. These Black women are strong. You know, that's my view, because I am breaking ground. We are breaking ground, Batu. When I'm done, I don't want the young women coming after me, continue to struggle like that. If I refuse to go in there and I say whatever, or I say, ooh, it's too hot, I'm backing off, then no young person should actually try. And it doesn't mean one gets it right all the time. We are human, guys. None of us is God. There will be a time when you get it wrong. I don't mind. I'm like, okay, excuse me, I got it wrong this time. Now, let's start. But they get it wrong too. Okay, so being human, but being authentic, and making sure that I'm very clear about the agenda why I am here. I wanted to say the agenda of the soul. There's a good reason I'm here. There's a good reason I'm here now. There's a good reason I have achieved everything that I have achieved, and I'm in the group of women on the African continent who are breaking ground. And that's why I want us to show authentically, because it is important for all of us, and it helps those who come after us. Thanks, Timmy.
Thank you, Prof. While you're still there, somebody has just asked if you could please explain the meaning of your name.
Oh no, you know, it's the one M, right? And my parents told me Ukhetile. That's where it came from. They said Mamokheti, so the chosen one. Voila.
Excellent. Well, definitely voila. I really, really appreciate what you and Patience have said. I think it was also mentioned in the chat to say that pity is not a currency. So people mustn't feel sorry for us unless it's going to pay us, right? Yeah. The Boys Club really does exist, but we've got amazing women like yourselves to look up to, who are paving the road for young women, for many women in Africa, and definitely are ground breakers and shape shifters. We really appreciate you. You are changing history into her story. Now, I wanted to ask Begisisa, from your side, is there a measurement or a tool that one can use to assess whether they are genuinely being productive and efficient?
Geez, that's a great question. Is there a measurement or a tool for a person to check if they are efficient or are they productive? And I would say yes. However, that measurement would differ for every person. I put it to everyone here to say, if you've got a job, go look at your KPIs, key performance indicators. Those are some of the things that will measure if you are doing what you need to be doing and you're producing what you need to be producing. And it's a good thing that you asked that, because a lot of us go to work just to spend the 8 hours, just to say, hey, I did come in for the 8 hours, therefore, pay me. And as Professor said, it's not that. It's what are you bringing to the table? What are you employed for, right? Because sometimes you find yourself very busy and you're like, oh, I punted today. Then come the appraisal, you get it too. And you're like, but I was busy. You were working on what you were not supposed to be working on. Look at your KPIs and measure yourself every day based on your KPIs. What is my KPI today? Okay, the company is supposed to produce or to have a profit of, say, 95, increase their profit by maybe 50%. How am I going to contribute to that? Okay, my job description is this. This is how I'm going to contribute to that. So what do I need to do every day to achieve that result? Then you work on that every day. Then you can measure yourself every day. Remember, we spoke about evaluating yourself. So you need to measure yourself every day and say, okay, I was supposed to produce at least 2 reports. I'm supposed to produce, say, 2 reports a day for me to achieve the results of 20 reports per month or 40 reports per month. Did I produce the 2 reports? Yes, I did. Then you have achieved it. If you produced 1, why did I produce 1? Is there something else I could have done to produce 2? How can I challenge myself to get better? And that's how you measure yourself. But I challenge everyone, if you've got a business, what are your strategic objectives this year? Then measure yourself based on your strategic objectives. Every day, have you done something towards your strategic objectives? Is it getting you closer to your goal? If it's not, maybe you need to change something.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you to my speakers. We have come to the end of the session. However, just in conclusion, I wanted to say to the colleagues who are on the line, you need to have a vision of where you want to go. Allow the me that you want to be to think a bit more than the you that you are today. Take your potential seriously, as Prof has said. Take your time in thinking about where you're looking to go, and take yourself a bit more seriously. In Zulu, they say, "Ungaziking a teaspoon." Don't use a teaspoon to pick up your potential. Open your mind so that your options can be open. And when we started, Andrew spoke about the leadership capability. I just want to remind you of a quote by Octavia Butler, who says, "Choose your leaders with wisdom and forethought. To be led by a coward is to be controlled by all the coward fears. To be led by a fool is to be led by the opportunists who control the fool. To be led by a thief is to offer up your most precious treasures to be stolen. To be led by a liar is to ask to be told lies, and to be led by a tyrant is to sell yourself and those you love into slavery." So be very, very cognizant around who you surround yourself with, the leaders and the organizations that you choose to support and join. And to conclude, I wish you all great success in your endeavors. And as you continue to strive to maximize your full potential, remember this conversation you had today. Tapisha, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing night.
What an amazing night. Definitely worthy of a round of applause. Shared by our speakers, and it has been such an amazing and fulfilling masterclass. I have been a part of this meeting. Would like to thank Bertius Theron, would like to thank our Division Director, Andrew Tsuro, like to thank you, Tembi, like to thank you, Patience Chisangamaya, like to thank Bekisisa Ngomane and Professor Mamketi Pakeng and Mokete Motela. Thank you so much to all of you that took time to come through to this masterclass, where we have got so many amazing practical tips that we can definitely use in the days to come, starting tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a good night as we close this meeting. See you at the next masterclass. Ladies and gentlemen, good night.